Happy Friday morning to you, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And this is video number 11 in our review and refutation of the book by Dr. Kenneth Gentry entitled, Have We Missed the Second Coming? This book is ostensibly a refutation of the view of true preterism, full preterism, covenant eschatology, if you please. And we began in our last video, last Friday, an examination of Kenneth Gentry's comments on Matthew 24 and 25, which he insists is talking about two different things. The fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, which Kenneth Gentry admits occurs at the end of the Old Covenant age in AD 70, the coming of the Lord in AD 70, but then he insists that Jesus also talked about the end of human history, the literal end of time as we know it. Now, what you have to understand is the basic presupposition that underlies, serves as the ground and the foundation for Dr. Gentry's claims and for his attempt at exegesis of Matthew chapter 24 and 25. Now, he insists that the disciples were asking about the end of the world, the end of human history. The question is, would that have been in the mind of the apostles when Jesus, pointing to the temple, said, "Do you not see all of these things? The time is coming in which not one stone will be left standing on top of another." Listen to Dr. Gentry as he says, quote, "We must bear in mind that the disciples originally think that Jesus' prophecy of the destruction of the temple, Matthew 24 verse 2, requires the simultaneous conclusion to history." My question is, where's the proof that the disciples would link and connect the fall of that temple with the end of human history? I posed the question in the last video. Did the disciples know, were they aware that the first temple, the Solomonic temple, had been destroyed in 586 BC? Well, of course they knew that. Did they think, did they believe that was the end of material creation, the end of the world? Well, pretty obviously not. So the question is, why would they believe that the destruction of the temple that Jesus was pointing to would now demand the end of human history? Where's the connection? Jesus had predicted the fall of that temple, the destruction of that temple. Notice, the disciples ask, what should be the sign of your parousia, your presence, and of the end of the age? Now, ask yourself the following question. What age did that temple represent? Did the temple standing there at that time represent the Christian age? Well, that would be patently false. No, there's no suggestion of that. Why would the temple at Jerusalem, that was the focal point of the observance of the law of Moses, why would the destruction of that temple indicate to the disciples that the end of the new covenant age of Christ was coming one day? Do you see the problem here? This is an incredible presuppositional false assumption by Dr. Gentry. When he says the disciples, upon hearing Jesus' prediction of the destruction of that temple, they automatically assumed that he was talking about the end of the world. No. They automatically, supposedly assumed Jesus was talking about the end of the Christian age. No. Well, how do I know that? In Matthew 24:35, Jesus said, heaven and earth, and we'll talk about that later, heaven and earth shall pass away. Watch this. My words, that's the gospel of Christ, which is the ground, the foundation, and the identifier of the Christian age. My words will never pass away. And yet, according to Dr. Gentry's view, when Jesus predicted the fall of Jerusalem, the disciples began to think, and they assumed, oh, well, he's talking about the end of the gospel age, which hadn't even yet been established by the death of their Lord. The church had not even been established, and yet when Jesus predicted the fall of the temple, they supposedly think he's talking about the end of the church age, which hadn't even begun yet. You see, folks, it is the false assumptions lying behind, serving as the absolute foundation for Dr. Gentry's entire view of the Olivet Discourse. If Dr. Gentry is wrong in claiming that the disciples would have thought about the end of the Christian age, if he's wrong on that, his entire view of the Olivet Discourse is falsified. They could not have been thinking of the end of the Christian age because the Christian age has no end. You see, that's simple and that's powerful. Dr. Gentry's entire position is based upon his view that the disciples, when Jesus predicted the destruction of the temple, automatically thought he was talking about the end of time. And yet, as we've already seen, when the temple was destroyed in 586, time did not end, and those disciples knew that. Why, therefore, would those disciples have automatically jumped to the conclusion that this time, that this destruction would demand the end of the world? There is no logic, there's no reason, and there's no exegetical support for such a view. Dr. Gentry's entire interpretive approach to the Olivet Discourse is based upon false assumptions. And it's kind of like the psalmist said in Psalms chapter 11. If the foundations be destroyed, what happens? Then the house falls, to paraphrase. The foundation of Kenneth Gentry's view of the Olivet Discourse, the foundation is rotten and false. Therefore, his view of Matthew 24 is false. Therefore, his attack, his attempt to refute true preterism, is likewise false. Now, let me urge you to get a copy of my book, The Resurrection of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 2, Future or Fulfilled. In this book, I have a tremendous amount of material exposing additional presuppositions, false presuppositions of Dr. Gentry and the entire dominionist world, including Gary DeMar, Joel McDermott, as well as the amillennial world and the dispensational world. You will be absolutely stunned to see how weak, how faulty, and how false the foundation of those futuristic views really is. So go to my website, donkpreston.com or BibleProphecy.com. Order the book, The Resurrection of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 2, Future or Fulfilled. Order the book. Send me a note telling me you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping, and that will save you $5. Hey, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic weekend. God bless. We'll see you on Monday.